Welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a free response long form question related to confidence intervals for proportion or for population proportions. All right, so this question says a study surveyed 800 middle school students to determine their preferred study environment. The results showed that 560 students preferred studying in a quiet place. Part A asks us to calculate a 95% confidence interval for the proportion of the middle school students who prefer to study or who prefer a quiet study environment. Okay, so in order to basically find the range, right, the interval for which we can be 95% confident that the actual results would fall into, we first need to find the results of the sample. So, what proportion of the people sampled, of the middle school students sampled, were part of that who did prefer to study in a quiet place? Well, that would be p hat, which is x over n, with x being the number of students participating in the study, which is 560, the number of students participating who preferred studying in a quiet place over the total number of students who participated, which is 800. And that is zero point 0.7. So therefore, 70% of the students surveyed preferred studying in a quiet environment. The other 30 preferred studying in an environment that was not quiet, so some other type of environment. All right, the next thing we need to do is we need to be able to find the confidence interval. So the confidence interval is going to be p hat plus or minus the z-score times the standard error, which standard error is going to be p hat times 1 minus p hat over n, right? Because essentially we're going to have a baseline of p hat, but we're going to be able to add or subtract a certain amount, partly dependent on the z-score that is corresponding with, we need to be 95% confident that that is the correct interval, and also, or that our answer is within that correct interval. And then we also need to multiply by this number here. This part here specifically is called SE, or standard error, as well. And so those are the things we have to take into account while we're doing this. So p hat is 0.7 plus or minus the z value. So in this case, the z value would be 1.96, because 1.96 is always going to be our z value for a 95% confidence interval. So it may be something you just kind of memorize, or you can also, if you do ever forget, you can always look it up on the tables as well. That's also fine. And then we're going to multiply that by p hat, so 0.7 times 1 minus p hat, which is 0.3, divided by n, which is the number of people participating overall, so that's going to be 800. Then let's see what that gets us. So that is going to get us 0.7 plus or minus 1.96 times the answer to this, which the answer to this here is approximately 0.0162. Then if I multiply that out, we get 0.7 plus or minus 0.0318 by multiplying the 1.96 with the 0.0162. And then if we actually do that, if we actually add it and subtract it, we get the confidence interval is between 0.6682 and 0.7318. And so that is going to be our final answer for part A. And so thus, we can be 95% confident that the true number of middle school students in the overall population who prefer studying in a quiet space is within this interval, right? Is between 66.82% of them and up to 73.18% of them. Okay. Part B asks to explain what a 95% confidence level means in this context. So there's a couple things I'll touch on. I guess we already touched on the context in terms of the population, but another important context I should mention too is that this 95% confidence level means that if we were to take many random samples of 800 middle school students again and again and again, right? Let's say we did this multiple times. We took a different 800, then we took another 800, then we took another 800, and we keep doing that. We can be confident that about 95% of those intervals would contain the true proportion of all middle school students who prefer studying in a quiet place. Then, right, because if we did it with a different 800 students, we sampled differently each time, then 95% of those confidence intervals that we found for each of those times we repeated this would have um, would have the actual population number in it, right? And so therefore we can be 95% confident that the true number, the true percentage for all middle school students is somewhere in here in the interval. Okay, then part C says if another study found that 65% of middle school students preferred studying in a quiet place, is that value consistent with the confidence interval? And so it actually isn't quite, right? Because the confidence interval, we have 95% confidence that the actual number is between 66.82% and 0.7318%. And so therefore, no, it actually is not consistent with this confidence interval. All right, well, as always, if you do have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comment section, and we'll see you for the next one.